Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm RJ Kerr, and this is Let's Write an Adventure, our ongoing live stream where we are building out a completely fully rendered, heavily detailed adventure from start to finish in real time, going through all of the twisty, knotty parts of creativity and examining all the pieces and parts and my full thought process. So, if you're joining us for the very first time, we are continuing to build our adventure where the characters are hired by the leader of the mayor of Skysong Gulch, a community that wants them to recover the only known deposit of a material called cold iron that was once lost in a glacial mine slash fortress called the Berg that was abandoned because it became an outbreak site of cackle fever. The community needs it to save themselves from the foretold coming of the Bloodgood Sisters Hag Coven, and the characters will have been led to believe that the village plans to fight the powerful Fae with this Fae slaying material. But when they return, they discover the village actually intends to pay off the Bloodgood Sisters with the cold iron, thus completing an ancient pact. Well, not necessarily ancient, but thus completing a pact. And the party must then decide whether to wash their hands of this or whether to try to convince the community to rise up against the hags or just oppose the hags themselves. So, last time we were building out some of our bits and pieces of Sky Song Gulch. So we had done a fair chunk of that previously in terms of the general description, kind of the deal that they had with the hags, what's coming to completion, and the treachery that was implied in that, some of the common sights and sounds and sensory details. Um, but last time we were working on some of the key locations because when your characters get there from the beginning, they're going to want to go explore places. They're going to want to pick up rumors and find out what's going on and somebody needs to find them and give them this quest. So we need a little bit of a few places for them to pop into and explore and people for them to meet. Now the people part is already done. We spent some time a session or two ago building out 9 influential npcs in the area and giving them jobs as part of our preparation for the climax of our adventure here. And so we have Nisa Stonehearth, our mayor. We have Rurik Blackthorn, a local entertainer. We have Lucan Brightmoon, stable master. Kieran Nightfire, our town healer. Aaron Darksteel, our town sheriff. Nyx Ravenscar, our tavern keeper. Doran Silverhawk, a historian. Thalia Stormcaller, a successful rancher here, and Elria Shadowforge, who is the owner of the most successful general store in town, which is a lot of NPCs to build for any particular settlement, especially before your players reach it. The only reason that we've built out so many of them is because they become important when we're trying to convince a whole town to rise up, which we could do with fewer NPCs if we really wanted to. But since we kind of have infinite time to work on this and we can really get into all the details, it's fun to do a little world building with this as well. So, again, not necessarily something you would have to do if you were building this to play with your campaign and you're trying to get it on the table. Wouldn't necessarily need so many of them. But we have the luxury of time. So, with those characters in mind, we're going to continue building out some of the key locations. And maybe if the mood strikes us, we'll drop in a rumor table and things that the characters might discover as they explore town. Um, Potentially giving us some hooks for follow-on adventures. And as we work through this live stream, maybe building out a whole campaign centered around Skysong Gulch with the Bloodgood Sisters coming back as reoccurring villains. Why not? Beautiful thing about this, we can do whatever we want. So we have the Eagle Rock Tavern, we have the Life Spark Temple, and we know we're going to need an inn, general store, probably blacksmith, stables, because we've got characters for that, town hall, because we have a mayor, library, ranchers union, and we have our underworld hangout because as long as we're building things, why not? Especially if we're considering expanding this out into a sort of campaign hub as we continue this channel. So let's go ahead and keep digging in with this. We don't need a ton of detail, as we've probably noticed. For each of these, we really just need a little bit of description. We need to know who's in charge. You know, we already have some details about them. We need to know kind of what they sell, that kind of deal, and then just kind of some unique features to make these places really stand out in the minds of our players. I've talked about giving characters funny hats. Places do well with funny hats as well, especially if you have a lot of places in an adventure. But it just adds atmosphere, makes things stand out, and and really fix themselves in the player's mind. So let's continue along with our plan on that. And let's see. General store, in general store, blacksmith, stable, town hall, library, rangers union, or underworld hangout. What do we want to start with? Well, the inn is going to get a lot of mileage. They do in pretty much every town. So let's come up with our inn. So let's see if we can get some inspiration. Let's go to fantasy name generators. I've used that in a while. Go to places and locations. And let's see. Hotel names. We'll use that here and just kind of see what, if anything jumps out at us. Assuming they don't have inns, because inns are distinct from a hotel. Yeah, okay. Now let's see what jumps out at us. I mean, we're not likely going to call this spa or maybe a hotel. Inn is just such a inn or roadhouse are just such good fantasy names. Even though technically, I think I've mentioned before, a hotel is like a place where you can rent a room designed for you to stay several nights in a row. An inn usually assumes you're going to be there for a night and then move on. Let's see here, Dual Hill. Maybe let's see here. Ooh, what about this? So we have the winding river that runs through Skysong Gulch. Let's see if we can come up with a name for that river, and then maybe that will inspire. Let's see here. Listening back. It's real. Paracord channel. Wow, these are not great. All right. Tremis and Roar. Let's see. Let's think about this. Raging back, shimmering. Okay. Wordiac. Okay, let's play a little bit. Sometimes just playing with some syllables will help spark something. Physical features get odd names all the time. Sometimes they're named for the people who discover them. Sometimes they're cultural names. Yeah. So let's see here. Let's think about this. So it's a slow-moving river that is sort of carving its way through the wasteland here. So in an environment like this, its water is going to be life-giving, right? Because it's hot and it's dry. So, we currently already have the life spark. Let's call this. Let's see. Let's call this. Let's call it something like Le Mer River or something like that, or the let's call it the La Mer. So the river we'll call, like I said, the La Mer. So let's just make a little note. slow-moving river that runs through Sky Song Gulch is the Lemaire. Lemaire River. Cool. Which is just the mother in French. But hey, borrow from other languages. There's nothing wrong with that. So let's give the inn the same. Let's say that the inn is taking its name from the river. So this will be the Lemaire Inn. Okay. We don't have a proprietor from our list on this, so we'll have to think of one. We don't need to really flesh them out very much. We just give them a few key points to role play as necessary. But let's think about this. So, what level? Probably, I'd say probably maybe the second level because we've got third level, first level. Let's put them on the second level, okay? The Lemaire Inn is a quiet, is a quiet. We don't need to do multiple adjectives. Why not? It's quiet inn, decorated with local art, immortalizing the river from which it takes its name. Let's see. We'll say thick rugs. We'll say thick cow. You don't even say thick. You can just say cowhide rugs. Rugs and tapestries. Let's say cowhide rugs cover the floors, and tapestries line the walls, dampening both voices and foot steps here. Yeah, so we can kind of lean into that being a very kind of quiet, almost monastic place. Not that necessarily needs a religious overtone or needs to be monastic, but almost like this kind of like sanctuary kind of feel to it. Yeah, so let's see here. Let's give. I think it probably, in that case, it probably has lots of little private rooms. So let's say the rooms are small, barely large enough to fit bed, chest, writing table. However, they are private and near soundproof. Due to their thick walls and well hung doors. Okay. So we need a proprietor. So let's roll up a name. Why not? Let's roll up a name. Oh, that's not what we want. Wrong screen. Okay. See that I was not thinking about rolling up names, but here we go. So let's say here we go. Fantasy names list. Okay. So let's see what we've got. D100. And that is a 19 on the first name. So that's going to say Draven. Excellent. I like that. And 22 for the last name. And Nightingale suiting for this. Okay. Okay, so Draven Nightingale is our proprietor. And Draven, let's see, he's the inn's owner and proprietor. He's a singularly uncreative man, but sincere and accommodating, which is a word that I, for whatever reason, cannot spell to save my life. Accommodating. Okay. Come on. There we go. Yeah, so he's singularly uncreative, hence why he's named his inn after the river in town, but sincere and unaccommodating. So that's his mannerism. We need probably just one little funny hat for him, one little specific thing to know him by. Let's see. He is. Let's see. He perpetually wears an ascot. Great. So he's the one little guy, little pump of flair to him. You know, that kind of gives us a little detailed role playing with. It gives him something that our characters can remember him by. And so that's enough for him. We don't need a whole lot more for that, unless the characters fall in love with him, and then we'll have to build him out. But that's for another occasion. So we need a unique feature for the Le Maire Inn. And what would that be? Something that, again, gives it just a little bit more flavor. We've already got a nice big fossil. We got the fossilized rock egg at the tavern. We've got those freshwater fountains and the Life Spark Temple. Well, maybe we lean into the fossil thing a little bit here. So instead of a fossilized rock egg, maybe there's a number of the bones of fossilized, river creatures that are just kind of part of the walls and floor here. Yeah, make up the walls. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's see, fossilized river creatures. Let's see, the skeletons of creatures dot the walls and floor throughout the inn. Great. Okay. We might make a note in terms of what's available, what kind level of rooms are available. So I'd say probably, since we've kind of described this as very private, it's probably modest to, um, probably modest to kind of noble, if we will. I forget what the exact terminology is off the top of my head, but um, not aristocratic, so not royal. Yeah, not royal, but aristocratic. I think that's probably what we're looking for here. So the room quality on offer ranges from modest to aristocratic. Great. So we get a little bit of range for the characters there, give them a little bit of choice, um, and if there's any benefits that coincide with going for the more expensive room or what have you. Um, there sometimes I like to play with there being a good reason to get a more expensive room, or potential hazards if you get less expensive rooms, but that's entirely up to you. But great, that's all we need for the Le Maire Inn. So our general store, we have a little bit more information about, but I want to go down to our library because this Dorian Silverhawk, our werewolf historian, really jumps out at me. I like that character. If I was a player, that's the kind of character that I would get really attached to in this, which is sometimes troubling because as a DM, if I like him and the characters hate him, that's gotta let him go. But let's pretend as though they're gonna love him. So let's start there. So the library, we can come up with a name for it, but there's only likely to be one library in town. So sometimes if there's only one, you just need the library. But if a name strikes us, we'll go with that. Maybe there's a clue in there into his real nature. It's kind of a hiding in plain sight kind of deal. Although the Lunar Library feels a little on the nose. So, but let's say this library. Oh, I didn't note in here where the inn is. The Le Maire Inn sits on the second level of Sky Song Gulch. Great. Okay, the library is a chaotic assortment of tomes, manuscripts, and folios kept in an archaic, I would say an arcane rather, filing system. I really, for whatever reason, I really like to make libraries and places of knowledge to be a little bit messy. I think it just comes up. It's a personal preference, but I think that it makes it easier for me to kind of verify, kind of justify why certain bits of information might have been misplaced, or allows me to kind of offer a little bit of Deus Ex Machina later if I need to, where suddenly somebody finds the information they were looking for and was buried under that stack of books in the back, that kind of thing. So where if everything's neat and orderly in its same place, it's harder to justify why somebody couldn't find it before, unless you go with something like, oh, it was checked out or what have you. So just a personal preference, but I kind of also like the idea of the of sort of that chaotic nature that I imagine that Dorian has kind of coming through in his work. Let's see here. Say near the stacks. Actually, we'll say Dorian keeps his office near the stacks. His desk is a manifestation of his own creative chaos with let's see here, cluttered by open notebooks and half used bottles of ink. The library has an eclectic collection, including many first-person accounts of the town's history and founding. And we could say that that's Dorian's special area of interest. And we can come up with some reason later why he really cares about that if the characters were to get interested in him. If they don't, then he's just interested in history. He is a historian after all. All right, so Dorian Silverhawk is the resident historian and librarian. Okay. And I think he probably lives above the library. He seems like the kind of guy who would like that solitude and be that into his work. And, you know, I do want to kind of pause here and point out that something that I'm obviously doing here is I get an idea about a character and now I'm imagining them as a real person as though I'm meeting them and I'm getting to know them and kind of walking through my concept of them as an individual that continues to evolve. That is one technique of doing this, and I encourage you that if you're the kind of person that works that way, if your mind kind of works in that creative, in that particular creative direction, where a particular detail about somebody kind of sticks in your mind, and you start to imagine them as a complete person out of that. Run with that. Don't fight that. Treat them as though they're a real person in your mind, and you're just putting the things down on paper that you happen to have learned about them, however that was. If you're not that kind of person, if that particular style doesn't work for you, there's nothing wrong with, again, just sort of creating a database, if you will, of features and building this person up like Lego blocks, right? Where you're fitting information about them together until all of a sudden you have this entity that feels like a real person in your mind. These people are always, or these characters are always going to be so much easier to play if they feel like real people to you. So anyway, so Dorian Silverhawk is a resident historian and librarian. He lives above the library in a set of private chambers accessible from his office. There is a secret stairwell that leads to the plateaus. Let's see, summit, I guess we'll call it. I have to look at what the actual term for the top of a plateau is. That leads to the plateau summit. This stairway is unknown to all others but Dorian. And I imagine that he uses that to get out of town when he's, on the full moon when he's going to transform, and so he doesn't put others at risk. And Camus Place. So cool. All right, so we got Dorian, we got the library. Let's come up with a unique feature of this library. Um, we're kind of getting this I don't want to say prehistoric, but almost this little bit of paleontology theme here, but I don't want to lean on another fossil. That gets kind of repetitive, although it's cool for it to be kind of a theme of the town. Maybe the bookshelves here are carved from the stone itself as well. So instead of there being this open space that was just kind of carved out, and then they fitted bookshelves in it, maybe they carved out the space, creating these natural pillars of stone, and then carved the actual cubbies for the books uh, into that, so that each shelf serves as both as a structural column as well as a repository of knowledge. So let's work with that. I like that. So let's say um, everything. Let's see, every. No, we don't say every. The library's shelves, scroll down a little bit, are carved from the living. Let's see, from the gorge is living rock, serving as both structural column and book scroll storage. This creates lovely sweeping patterns of striated sandstone in pastels. We'll say in pastel pinks and oranges. Think about Utah when I think about this. You've probably seen social media, those very thin kind of gorges in Utah you can hike through, but that's the kind of the painted rock we're talking about. When we say painted rock, that's what we're talking about. It's that natural sedimentary rock that you get those very natural clear cut colored layers in. I imagine the gorge that Skysun Gulch is full of that kind of stone, and so we see a lot of those colors in various places here. Um, and sedimentary rock is perfect for finding fossils too, so it kind of all layers together well. At least in my mind, it does. Okay, so that is that's a description of our place. We have our proprietor. We already. I wonder if does he do? He probably does scribing services here. He can probably procure some spells as well, maybe. Um, yeah. Let's offer that here. Why not? Let's give him that little bit of extra service here. Though Dorian is no spellcaster himself, or maybe he is. Question mark. Maybe we change that later. Who knows? And his spellcaster himself, he does. He can procure spell scrolls and spell books for a fee. And so I usually, if it's going to be a physical thing that somebody's buying, like a scroll or a spell book, um, I usually will do it at twice the rate of whatever the consumable is. I know spell scrolls are consumable, but like for example, we have Kieran or Kieran has the spell casting services that he provides, and that's 25 gold per spell level, and that's a one-time kind of thing, and it's a right then and there thing, right? Um, so a spell scroll has more utility because even though it's a single cast, you can take it with you. You can cast it at any other time of your choosing. It becomes kind of a stored resource, or you can use it to learn a new spell, that kind of thing. So let's double that for his procurement. So for a feat, and so we'll just say 50 GP per spell level, um, plus the cost of any consumable material components, because they would have to be used to create the spell scroll anyway. Cool. And then that translates out for spell books, right? So if the spell book is going to have a number of things in it, we can treat it purchase-wise as though it's just a series of spell scrolls, although mechanically there's a difference between spell scrolls and spell books, specifically being that there's a chance to fail copying down from a spell scroll, whereas there's no chance of failing when you're copying spells into your spell book from somebody else's spell book. But I digress. But cool, we have our library, and maybe we'll come up with a name for it later. So, Town Hall doesn't need a different name. It can just be Town Hall. The Ranchers Union. Let's build that out. So, the Ranchers, because it'd be plural ranchers, plural possessive. Union is a let's see, it's a large okay. So the Ranchers Union meeting hall is a large room with a vaulted roof. With vaulted roof and stone cut benches before a short dais. So the Ranchers Union would be kind of like a guild hall, right? Like it would be a place where, ranchers spread throughout the whole region, probably for miles around, because, this is kind of a distant, in some ways agrarian place. But this is where they would come together to do their, discuss things as an organization, do their collective bargaining, work on, selling, promoting their wares, advancing their interests in, the legislator of the town, the legislation of the town, that kind of deal, which isn't necessarily important to this particular adventure, right? But again, maybe we decide we want to build more adventures out of Sky Song Gulch, and especially after we've put this amount of time into here, it'd be nice to reuse it, right? And so this place, the Ranchers Union, might become a viable faction depending on the kind of story that we want to tell. Maybe they're patrons for later adventures, that kind of deal. So we want to give this place again just a little bit of interest. A place that the characters might be drawn to for whatever reason, because some places are going to draw them automatically, right? They're going to go looking for a place to stay. I would wager that 99% of parties are going to go look for a tavern at some point. General store, they're going to shop. Blacksmith, they're going to look for armor, that kind of thing. The stables, maybe if they have mounts, that's obvious. We'll have to come up with things to draw them to town hall, but they might go looking for healing or services, the library or the Lightspark Temple. But without something to pull them to the Ranchers Union, there's very little reason to go there. Now, that being said, going to talk to, is it Thalia? Is that who our rancher is? Yes, Thalia Stormcaller. At the end is a reason to go there, and that might be all the reason that we need. But perhaps it's worthwhile giving them other reasons to go there so that they know about it instead. Think about that as we build this out. All right, so the Ranchers Union Meeting Hall is a large room with a vaulted roof and stone-cut benches before a short dais. It's no nonsense decor. Is a reflection of the straight forward straightforward attitudes, we could say, of the ranchers who belong to the Union. Always nice when the setting reflects the mood and attitudes of the people who inhabit it. Just good storytelling. It helps, it helps your characters, your players, I should say, have a better understanding of kind of the situation they're in. When you get a little bit of that, when the environment reflects the people who are in it, or juxtaposes with them, that's a different thing. But in this case, it's a good reflection. The walls are whitewashed. And decorated with, let's say, retired spurs, saddles, tack, and a few sets of steer's horns. Okay. The Union's meeting hall is on the let's put it on the first level of Skysun Gulch. And I forgot to put where the library is. Library is on the third level of Skysong Gulch. It would need to be for those stairs to lead up to the summit. Okay. So obviously Thalia Stormcaller is a member, because she's our well-to-do rancher, if you will. But let's elevate her. Let's make her the chairwoman or the chairperson, however we want to call that, of the Ranchers Union. So let's see here. Thalia Stormcaller is the chairperson of the Ranchers Union. And can be found here. It can be found in the offices just beyond the meeting room. Once a week, tending to union business, and we can decide what that union business is later if it matters. Okay, so let's link that before I forget. Oh yeah, storm color, excellent. Not that we filled anything in yet, but still useful to do now. Dorian Silverhawk, lovely. Okay. So, let's say, as our unusual feature here, let's say a colossal set of steers' horns. Size of let's say as wide as we'll say wider than a grown, let's just say an adult. You could say a grown man, but we'll say an adult. Let's be a little more inclusive. Wider than an adult, laying down, reins over the podium on the dais. Or I guess lying down would be the correct use there. Yeah, so an enormous set of steers horn, up on the dais on the wall, above the podium. Makes kind of a cool little unique feature here that kind of fits with the westerny vibe that this Union Hall has. And what would they offer? What would be something that the maybe this is where the characters could go to buy mounts. Usually I would run that through the stables because that's where they'd keep horses and that kind of thing. Maybe maybe they just stable horse. Maybe they just keep horses, and maybe the stable will sell tack and that kind of deal. Saddles and tack and that deal. So maybe mounts can be purchased from the Ranches Union. Okay. Mounts. I wonder if there'd be any kind of magical mounts available here. We'll hold on to that. Mounts can be purchased from the Ranchers Union. Purchased from Ranchers Union at normal rates. However, I should say additionally, the ranchers are often in need. We should say the ranchers have a standing. Actually, this would be a new line item now that I'm thinking about it. Thinking about griffins since you're not in my brain. Griffins hunt horses. It's that's part of their lore in the D&D universe. Is that they're horse eaters. So we could and we can extend that to cattle too if we wanted, but we could effectively say that the ranchers have a standing bounty on griffins. Standing bounty for griffin pelts. And let's say 50 GP. So you could see where this this group would want to rid the area of griffins, and the party can choose to engage with that or not. They can oppose it, they can hate it, they can love it, they can collect it, they can do whatever. But it gives them an actionable thing and a reason, perhaps, to go visit the Ranchers Union, because we can put posters up for this. Uh, Posters around town advertise this fact. And this also gives us a cool little lever in the case specifically of Thalia, right? Because like if the characters have perhaps encountered a griffin in their travels on the way to the burg on their way back, and they've slain it and they've collected its pelt and they come back and maybe they turn it over and they use that as a bargaining chip to try to get Thalia on their side in the final confrontation, right? So fun little lever, little side quest, little place to make a little extra cash for the characters if they want. Okay. Let's see. Ooh. Let's do the blacksmith. Let's do the blacksmith. And who is our blacksmith? Let's check. The Burg. It's not the Burg. I want the. We're going to change that to. Final encounter, because that's really more of what this has become. Okay. Did I? Oh, another one that we don't have a NPC for yet. So fun. Let's do that. Okay. So let's roll for our character here. Let's see. Let's get some names. 90. All right. Elria. We already have that. We do not double up names. 88. Selena. Okay. Cool. And let's see. Selena. And let's get a last name. 2. Windrider. Fun. We don't have a Windrider, right? Cool. No, we don't. Sweet. All right. So, Selena Windrider will be our blacksmith. And so let's call this the Windrider Blacks. Windrider Smithy. The Wind Smithy is stifling a hot, I should say, is a stiflingly hot alcove set at the far end of the 3rd level of Sky Song Gulch. Soot stains coat the blackened ceiling despite the chimney. Let's see, despite the forge. Well, maybe not despite the forge, but it would be because of the forge. But despite the chimney that dominates the back half of the workspace. Okay, the air here is perpetually hazy with a thin smoke that never seems to dissipate. Selna Windrider. I'll just say Selna never seems to notice the thickness of the acrid atmosphere. Atmosphere. Cool. Lovely. So, Selena Windrider. Let's learn some things about her. She is let's say, a stout-armed elvish woman with let's see here. So stout-armed elvish woman. Let's maybe she's got a hammer and tongs tattooed across her chest with hammer and tongs tattooed across her chest. She's a let's see, she's an artisan at heart, more comfortable around her craft than people. Lovely. Okay, so we got enough to play our simple blacksmith here. And again, we should give Ms. Windrider's smithy something unique about it. That might need to wait till next time. So, because we are running out of time. So, with that, let's put a pin in here, and we will come back to that next week. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. I really relish this time with you all, building out this it's rapidly becoming kind of this world, and being able to kind of play around with our creative endeavor here as we pick through the pieces of building very detailed adventures and campaigns. If you have enjoyed this, I hope that you will like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the bell icon so that you never miss a video. But if you'd like to play some adventures with me, you can check me out on startplaying.games/GM/RJ Kerr, spelled just like my name on the channel here, to join one of my tables. I currently have got a couple one-shots scheduled, and I'm working on getting a campaign set up starting in September. So looking forward to seeing you all here, and hopefully meeting you all there. Thank you so much, and I will see you next Monday.